You're live. You're probably live that whole time.
Welcome. Kicking it with Coach K podcast. I am your host, Coach K. I'm here with Coach
Keith Barbie.
Keith Barbie. Hoggs going wild in the house. I like the
Yes,
shirt,
sir.
Coach.
Thank you.
I just before we dive into all this stuff, and we got a couple things to talk about, and then obviously love to our sponsors and whatnot. But I do want to say I watch. We were talking just for a few minutes before the show, but I watch your clips and the stuff you do pretty closely, man. I like what you're doing. I think it's great work. You're very detail oriented. So, and I know a lot of coaches say they're detail oriented and say they coach technique and say all that shit, but like you actually seem like the type of person who really, there's stuff you do that I'm like, there's a why to everything. Like there's a reason behind everything this guy is doing. It's not crazy ass drills, which I actually seen you post something about recently. we'll dive into that too today a little bit, but this show is brought to you guys today by Brain Jerk Entertainment, Kennedy Health and Wellness. Again, we always thank these guys at Brain Jerk. Was just talking to Coach before and telling him, these guys are involved in all kinds of stuff. The Brain Jerk experience is coming soon. I can't tell you guys exactly what that's going to be, but just wait and just know, stay tuned. There's going to be a lot going on down at that new Telegraph location. Of course, we got a couple podcasts every week, and they, again, at least a handful of events every year from adults to kids, whatever entertainment. I'm telling you, these guys have done something for that, for you, for your family, for you and your significant other. They're very well rounded. So make sure you check out Brain Jerk Entertainment social medias. They're always keeping stuff updated. They will actually be down at Montague Park tomorrow for the Juneteenth celebration. So make sure you go down there. I think there's going to be like a concert, food, vendors. There's going to be all types of stuff going on. And obviously it's a day to celebrate. So that's a super cool event going on right here in town. Shout out to these guys for helping put work into that. Also want to thank Kennedy Health and Wellness. We are your one-stop shop for everything wellness, from body care to candles. Just want to give a shout out to Mini Mitten. We just partnered with Mini Mitten. I'm sure a lot of you guys have saw that. Mini Mitten works with kids with neurodiversity, autism, that sort of thing. They work with kids. They have a beautiful facility, great people. We've partnered with them on a special project with our products. Make sure you check that out as we're trying to do our part to help them out, and just kind of give them thanks for everything they do for our kids. So huge shout out to Mini Mitten, and we're proud to be a part of that new venture. So coaching clinic update. We're still looking for sponsors and vendors for the 2025 Monroe and Downriver Coaching Clinic. Maybe we can get Coach in here. We can talk to him after the show. But we are still taking applications for that. We're also looking for vendors. If you're somebody who is in the fundraising field, or maybe you sell jerseys, whatever it is, come set a table up. We do have we got a lot of great speakers. I can't say a whole lot yet, but we got some people coming from Michigan State. We've got some people coming from some pretty prominent high schools in our area and different things. So do want to shout out Offensive Athletics. They are the newest sponsor of the podcast. And again, guys, this will be March 21st and 22nd, 2025 at the Quality Inn and Suites. That'll be the second annual Monroe and Downriver Coaching Clinic. One thing I have to talk about is the Monroe and Lenawee All-Star game. So Friday night, the first time ever for the football side of things. They've done this before with baseball and whatnot, but Monroe and Lenawee County have decided to combine the game. And that goes down Friday at 7 at Siena Heights. So shout out to Siena Heights. I got a couple of buddies on the coaching staff up there. Shout out to those guys. And that's going to be a lot of fun. I had the pleasure of coaching last year's Monroe County All-Star game, and we had a blast. It was the most laid back, I would say, just kind of loose, have fun week of coaching I've ever had. I mean, you got 4 days to get ready for an All-Star game. It was just, hey man, let's go have fun, fellas. Let's put the ball in guys' hands that can move, and let's have fun. So I'm excited. I got several of my guys from last year playing on the Monroe side, obviously. Shout out to those guys from Erie Mason. Go do your thing, fellas. And again, I'll see you guys Friday at 7 for that. This show is also brought to you by several sponsors, including Amaya's Fresh Mexican Grill, the Little Brown Jug, Lane's Pizzeria, IWR, All Heart Athletics, Monroe County Sports Network, Joyology, 8 Mile Vodka, Backroad Bagger, Smoker Society, Spooky Films, Nerdy Designs, Evolve Coaching Clinics, and our newest sponsor, Coach Javon Johnson over at DSP. So shout out to Coach Johnson and Diverse Sports Performance. He will be back on the show soon. We appreciate him for stopping in and co-hosting every now and then. Quote of the day: the man on top of the mountain did not just fall there. And that's by Vince Lombardi. That literally to me is just, it's so common sense, but it's true at the same time. It's just, hey man, everything you do in life, when you reach a pinnacle, when you build a brand, when you have a successful season, whatever you're doing, it's such a grind to get there, man. Like, it is such a grind. And so many people in today's society are kind of waiting for it to happen, right? So just a reminder, the man on the top of the mountain didn't fall there. Read of the week is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. So we'll keep it short, sweet, to the point. That's a great book. I just pulled it out for the second time to read that book. I love that book, man. But go ahead and check that out, guys. So, Coach,
All righty.
let's dive in. Tell us just a little bit about who you are, and then let's dive into how Hoggs Gone Wild kind of came about.
All right. Well, first and foremost, my full name is Keith Barbie. Born and raised in Detroit. Graduate 2002, Detroit Southeastern High School.
Okay.
Took a couple of years off, went back, started coaching before I went back to college. So I started coaching in, I believe, 2003.
So you started coaching before, you said? Before I went to college? Okay.
So I started coaching at 19. I went back to college at 24.
Okay.
Yep.
No kidding.
So at that point, I went to College of the Desert, a junior college in California. And then from there, I received a athletic scholarship to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a little bit of my background. I've been coaching for, it's 2024. So I've coached every year, but 2002 when I first graduated, 2013, I think I set that season out. And this might be the only other season. So
this upcoming?
Yep. So, and aside from the 2 years I was in school.
That's crazy,
So I've
man.
been coaching for about 18, 19
and
years.
You started young as can be. Mm-hmm. That's honestly wild, man, because that story, your journey, is such a wild one. That's a different one to coach and then go back to school and then like going down to Louisiana and like, damn.
You know, it was I thought it was really good though, because by the time I went back to school, I understood the coaching side. So I didn't get as what's the word? I wasn't as surprised by some of the things. Like It was easier to handle like some of the things that these kids go through that they don't understand because they're not coaches. Like some of the games they play just to, today you with the ones, but second practice you with the scout team, and you like, what the? So, but I understood a lot of that. So it helped me later going back to school later. It helped me get through it actually.
That's I can see that for sure. Cause you get both perspectives and you get the other perspective really young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now you can look at things almost from like, as you're being talked to from a teacher or a coach, you can look at it like, well, damn, I'm doing this, I'm coaching,
And so from there, it was kind of like that because I was kind of the coach to the players. Obviously, I'm the oldest guy there. I was 24. Right. Everybody else is like 18. You got a couple guys like 20-ish, but having that experience as a coach, I was able to help a lot of my teammates deal with like some of the stuff that the coaches were doing.
That makes sense. Yeah. Especially at the college level.
And so like that's even like now that's still part of what I do in training. Like the kids come in, coach said this or coaching, they pissed off, and I act as a translator. I play devil's advocate. Sometimes I play the role of the coach and I give them a hard time and they get mad at me. And I'm like, but you understand where I'm coming from when I'm saying what I'm not saying it just to piss you off. I'm saying it because there's a lesson that you haven't learned yet, and you just a little bit ahead of your time. It's not, you're not wrong. He's not wrong, but this is just not your time to shine.
That makes sense. Yeah. Damn, that's deep though. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's that's probably a huge part of why you found quite a bit of success so far, because that, I mean, that's major, man. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Just growing up, just being one of those kids where, coaches, I do what I say because I'm a coach. It's like, yeah, it's cool, but if you told me why, then I might be more apt to
Right.
give a shit and actually do it.
And
So,
I would just say, in my opinion, I think this generation of kids, you almost have to coach that. You
yeah.
cannot skip the why. You may be used to. You may be used to, as a coach, be able to get away with that and just kind of drill work people like
Hmm.
we're drill sergeants and whatnot. But today, kids will, I hate to say it, but like kids will cuss your ass out. They'll leave. They'll drop their pet. Mom and dad will be up there. You'll get fired. Like all types of stuff can go wrong. You really have to. And I think people think our kids are dumber, and I think that's actually the opposite. I think they're actually smarter, and that's why we struggle more as parents and coaches and teachers sometimes. I would argue it's the opposite. They're smarter and they challenge you to make yourself a better teacher, a better coach.
Yeah. So, like, even when I was in high school, the one thing that I told myself was if I became a coach, I would try to remain relatable as I could to the kids. And so I don't discount my journey at any point. So at 16, I knew what I knew and what I didn't know. And
Right.
so now with them, I was your age. I remember, like, I have a 7-year-old daughter. So I understand the kind of stuff a 7-year-old does.
Right.
So even in she do stuff that I want to get really mad about,
I
I
have a
still have to
10-year-old. I go
remember
through it.
she don't this is a new experience for her. So
That's
it's
a good
education
point.
for them.
Right.
So
What a point.
now when like as they're doing stuff, like you said, like we grew up in the you get dropped off at practice, whatever coach say, that's what you
Hell
do.
yeah.
And you
You
didn't
don't challenge
you didn't
shit.
question anything, like the world that they grew up in. They social media and all that
Just
allowed them
challenge
to have a
everything.
voice. And we wanted voices as kids. So we can't diminish or minimize their voices.
What a
Like
point.
just because they
Mm.
might be batshit crazy and far off, but it's an opportunity for us to
Mm.
educate. So instead of taking the approach of do as I say, as I do, here's why.
That's big. And I'll piggyback just a short point off of that. More is taught, or sorry, more is caught than taught from
Yeah.
kids. And I think as people, we don't always realize that. And as a parent, a coach, a teacher, more is honestly, maybe as a teacher, it's a little different because they're only around you for that little 40-minute class or whatever. And you have, but definitely as a coach and a teacher, more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
I think that's same with like even just coaching X's and O's. If you don't know what you're doing, they're not going to know what they're doing, and they're going to catch, eventually they're going to catch that.
And the craziest part about it was like in 2016 is when I had my daughter. And so I just kind of started like, okay, what don't I know? Right. And that journey of what don't I know just kind of led to you know, so I used to be a coach where I cuss, yell, scream, all of that type of stuff.
You seem super calm.
Now I am. But, coaching some kids led to that. Like I had a kid that was like, okay, you yell at me when I do it the right way. You yell at me when I do it the wrong way. How do I differentiate between the two?
Oh, okay,
And
right.
that just made me really go, okay. So part of the problem why you may not be getting through is because you're giving everything the same energy. So whether it's good or bad, it's this, but in these kids' lives, and we talk about it as coaches, when they go home, we don't know what they're actually
Facts.
going home to.
100%.
So that just started like ironically with my daughter, my mental health journey kind of accelerated.
Mm,
And so I took a lot of those principles that I wanted to apply to my daughter and I just moved that into coaching. And that's how I was able to, like we said, like I wouldn't want nobody yelling at my daughter, but then you go to practice and you yelling at
and you got
somebody's
somebody else's
kid.
kid,
And
right?
so I was like, okay, how would I do this? If I had to coach my daughter, how would I coach my daughter? And that's the same approach that I take with the kids. And it's not a masculine or a feminine thing, but it's a
Right.
what makes her tick. That's what's important. What makes her tick, and whatever that is, then that has to be the motivation to get them to do what you need them to do.
That's actually an incredible point, man.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I think because I think that's also how do I say this? That's also trying to get kids to rise to the challenge rather than break them into doing something, which I think we did so often as when we were young. I think our coaches and parents tried to literally break us into things, whereas we're trying to uplift you to do something positive.
And you got your moments where you have to, like
Most
it's
definitely.
but for the
I've
most
had mine.
part, as coaches, we treat if practice is 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours 15 minutes is the most intense. It's got to be the most, and it's
Right.
like, well, yes and no, because like you said, these kids are a little bit smarter, so too much contact, and they like, hey, we reached our limit for the day. And I'm pretty sure a couple coaches did notice it, and we blew the whistle. Hey, get y'all stuff, get off the field, let's go home. You've seen it.
Yep.
So just even taking periods of, okay, let's say we work in individual, we work in everyday drills, and we just on the ladder. Take y'all helmets off. If we're not doing contact, take your helmets off.
Right.
And it does so much for
That goes a
them. Like
long way.
you got to keep the helmet on. You got to get. They know all of that.
Strap up. You know
like,
how many
like,
times, man, strap your helmet up.
and it's like, okay, is this really one of those situations? So I'll just tell guys like, look, okay, for the next 5 minutes, we're gonna work on striking, no helmets. However, this is how this works. We can have no helmet periods, but when it's time to put the helmets on, an animal got to come out. If that animal don't come out, then we can't have
Right.
non-helmet
That makes
periods.
sense. Yeah.
Now because we gotta get you have this is a contact sport. My
And you
high
can
school,
still build toughness that way though, which I think some coaches don't really necessarily maybe understand, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're tough to keep helmets on when it's 98 degrees and run them into the ground and do that stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to build a tough team. Honestly, you may build a soft team that way.
and a lot of us don't understand like that could go work in reverse as well. But I learned that more of that getting into some of the other stuff I started studying outside of just offensive line play, just training, period. 'Cause you got these kids with these helmets on, but we're not accounting for how keeping that how much hotter it is under the helmet and the effects that it has on the homeostasis of the kids themselves. Because on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday at noon, they're not gonna have their helmets on for the whole game. It's gonna be
That's
points where they
facts.
take that helmet off. So have periods where they absolutely have to wear helmets. Have some periods is non-contact periods. I don't
That's a
necessarily see a need to have
great
helmets.
advice. No, that's absolutely phenomenal advice.
Yeah.
I just left. I train AP's volleyball team,
Okay.
sports performance. I go in there in the summer and basically get them ready for volleyball season as far as the weight room and in the gym. And I always tell them basically my main thing is whatever we're doing, it has got to translate to in some way it has to translate to your game day
Mm-hmm.
or to your practices. It can't be just we're doing something to do it. Even if we
Right.
think it builds toughness or it cannot, it has to literally match. So for me, when I take that mindset and I listen to you say that, to me, I'm like, that's amazing. That's absolutely correct. There's no, I hate saying this like this, but that's the way to do it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the correct thing, man. And I am sitting here even as a coach thinking, okay, he's right. How can I take this back to my guys now, back to my head coach? I'm the defensive coordinator, but how can we take it back now? And how can I bring that during 2 days or whatnot, or whether it's practice during the week, or hey, let's make sure this period we pop these. We don't, defense, we do like a quick turnover circuit. We don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily need that to scoop a fumble up. Maybe if there's contact where we're punching footballs out or something, but we do a lot where we're working on interceptions and different things. Like, so to me, I started automatically looking at, well, damn, he's right. They're not going to wear their helmets all Friday night. Why are we wearing our helmets an entire 2.5 hour practice?
Or like situations where like you guys work on tackling. So, like it's a big thing of keeping the head out of the tackles and leading
Yep.
with the crown.
Yep.
So why not have a period where the guys may be a yard or two apart where it's not a super heavy collision, but take the helmets off so they get used to taking
Right.
the helmet out of the actual deal.
Right. That's
And
not a bad
it's the
idea
same type
either.
of
Right.
drill that you would do with the helmet on, and then now you do another version of the same drill with the helmet on, and the same stuff should show up.
Translate over. Right. Right.
So having taken the approach of doing what's absolutely necessary, that I feel like that also helps draw the players in. Like, we're not about to come out here today and work on screen blocking, and we're not running screens today. Now, if we run the screens tomorrow and we just need to kind of get it in, then I'll explain, hey, we're not doing this today. We're doing this tomorrow, but we got to get it in today, because when we do it tomorrow,
We want
the
to be
reps
good
got
at
to
it.
go.
Right.
So in that instance, then, I'll do it. But I actually took the stance of explaining to the kids what we doing today. So, well, man, I don't know how many reps we doing. So you get kids that don't want to go hard because they don't know if they're gonna do 2 reps or 50 reps, so they trying to reserve. So I let every kid know, hey, every kid is gonna get at least 4 reps. Now, what you do with them
You
four
tell
reps,
them that straight from the beginning,
straight, because I
like
don't
all drill work.
I don't want any misconceptions. When we doing drill work, you get 4 reps. In those 4 reps, I'm gonna take the best guys that can execute those reps, but everybody's going to get the same reps. So when it's time to shake the depth chart, and nobody say they didn't get a shot, everybody got a shot.
That's a good
I
point.
taught everybody the same. Like, we as coaches, we talk about we only strong as the weakest link. Okay, to a certain extent, we can only progress as fast as the weakest link as well. So
And
we
so many of us don't develop the weakest link.
and
We and I hate saying this, and I am not by any means speaking on like my behalf or yours or our coaching staff at Erie Mason, but there's a lot of coaches who just choose not to. They're not going to worry about them last few guys. Their bodies for the football field, and that's not a great mindset to have.
and to a certain extent, I understand it, but at our level,
That's what I'm
on
saying.
Friday, hey,
You're gonna need that
that can
guy.
happen pretty fast. Like, I
Right.
had a situation, and this helped me, change that little tidbit too. I was coaching at a school, not gonna say the school I was at, but the starter, my right tackle went down, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, you lose a tackle in high school too. For those who are listening and don't know, if you lose an O lineman in high school, it can get real weird real quick.
So the backup guy went in, and then he got hurt first play. And then the kid that I tried to get to do it, he was the only kid that he didn't do it. And I mean, when that game was over, there was no way, like, you couldn't pay me to believe I wasn't gonna get fired after how bad that kid played. I mean, like the like
I've
that
seen that in
like it like I
high
think
school.
that game alone changed the trajectory of that quarterback's career, because that kid was so bad, so bad. But in his defense, he played another position. He
Okay,
wasn't
so
he
he was
wasn't
sliding.
he wasn't actually an offensive lineman,
Oh, he wasn't even an O lineman.
but he was O lineman adjacent, if
Right.
you will. I'm not gonna, if
I got you.
if you coach the sport, you understand what I'm talking about. So he should have had an idea of what
Right.
was going on, and he was completely clueless. But
See, and how often does that
yeah,
happen, man? And like, I'm in a position now where, and I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm in a position now where that's the case. We're pretty young this year, right? And
hmm
as a coordinator, I'm looking at several positions going. It could potentially be a freshman or a very young, inexperienced sophomore right off the bat if something, even if it's a rotational guy, not even if something happens, God forbid, but if we need heavy reps from a rotational guy, like it may be. So that's, man, that is something coming into this off season that I've really tried to focus on is like get and I like the even rep idea. But I'm even right now at the point where like we just did a 7-on-7 at BGSU and whatnot, and I'm trying to get all the young guys and all the guys as many
hmm
reps as possible, not just the senior guys or
yeah,
juniors, like because I'm gonna depend on some guys this year,
yeah.
man. And I'm like, oh, buddy, we got to be ready for that.
And then, like, even with that, like, that changes after a while too. So, like, over the summer, everybody gets even reps, but once we get to camp and camp start to
Then
shake
it
out,
changed,
it's like, okay,
right?
so now I got to make
Yep.
sure if you a starter, then If I got 12 reps, now I got to, you know, delineate the numbers and who get how many reps and so on and so forth. But then I feel like as your starters are solidified, let's say you got 3 year guys,
Right.
get some of them younger guys
In
those
there.
reps. Don't
Yep.
like once that kid shows that he's sufficient, reduce his reps because we had our kids are going to the next level. So I think another thing that we don't really think about is wear and tear that we
Big
putting on the
time.
kids before
Big
they
time.
get to the next level.
Yep.
So, you know, and
And just longevity in their life, man.
I
I talk
well
about that all the time as a
and
coach. Just like I know a lot of older athletes
hmm
who I'm just gonna be real, man. Hoopers that hooped 24/7 and got blown out hips now and bad knees, and I'm like, hey, I see it. Like, baseball players' elbows can't move their elbows and arms no more, and it's hard, man. I've kind of I fight with that a little bit in my
uh-huh.
brain because I'm like, and they're young, they can move, they can do a lot, but I also agree our
And,
sport is also very our sport takes a lot, man. And people have kind of gotten mad at me for saying this before, but football takes more than any other sport in my opinion. It just does. It
and,
takes more.
and you know, I think that because I get into the performance side as well. So when you start to get into that particular side of it, it's like you start to really understand right is better than a lot.
Facts.
So
Big facts.
so doing it right 3 times is better than doing 10 reps and you get 3 out of the 10 right. If we doing 10 reps, those 10 need to be 10 good reps.
I hope my student athletes are listening because
So
coach is he's reinforcing what I've been telling y'all for a while. We want good reps, quality over quantity.
because the thing that the kids don't understand is that toughness is the confidence, and the confidence comes from
Mm,
being right.
facts.
Unless
Knowing what you're doing.
unless you know on the other end of the spectrum, and then you just oblivious to anything, and so you just go. But when you're playing sports, you kind of need to you need to be a little bit more intentional. So
Facts.
instead of being satisfied with winning 2 reps, don't be satisfied until you win 4.
Right. Yep.
And that's where that confidence on Friday gonna come from. I don't lose in practice. I don't, I'm not losing reps. It don't come from, you just put on your
I
pads and
did
you listen.
700 up downs and
You
now I'm
listen to a
tough.
song and no, it
Right.
don't come from that. It come from I tackle, our running backs in practice. I
Yep.
tackled the biggest, the toughest running back
I
we
know my
had.
assignment.
I took him down,
Yep.
or hey, the B gap just opened just like it
Yep.
was supposed.
I
Like
know
that
my assignment.
that's where that toughness and that confidence come from. Also from training in the off season, making sure that they're preparing their
That's a
bodies
big
the
one.
right way, and they could be playing another sport or just working out, whatever the case may be. But that toughness, if we're not like you, I think you were saying earlier, like forcing it, we can build it
Right.
by
Over forcing it.
putting them in situations to be successful, and them starting to see consistency in their success.
I think that's a phenomenal point. Building confidence to help build that toughness. I think that's because, again, I always tell my kids that just to relate to that, I always tell our kids the best football player is the one who knows his assignment, knows what he's doing, and knows he's been putting in work.
Yeah.
Period. That means you showed up in the off, everything you just said in a nutshell. You showed up in the off season. You did the training. You're feeling good. There's a certain level which we struggle a little bit. We're still fighting weight room numbers a bit. I'd like to see more. But there is an aspect of that I try to kind of get kids to understand of like, you don't know how different you feel. Forget about football for a minute. You don't know how different you feel when you've been at a gym or putting in work consistently or playing sports, moving. You
hmm
don't, there's nothing that replaces that feeling. You start to believe in yourself. You feel good about yourself. So it's the same thing, man. You come to the weight room, all of a sudden, you think you're not going to walk out after a whole winter in the weight room and look at the other guy who didn't show up and be like, dude, I'm about to kick his ass on Friday night. He can't.
Because kids don't, like when kids like if in when they come lift, okay. The this is what I tell them. Okay, so here's the deal. We got 3 sets of 8. Okay, this first set you supposed to get a little bit of wear, but you shouldn't be
We sound
you
similar.
shouldn't be wore out
Right.
by the end of it. Your second set, when you start to get about halfway, it should start to, kind of get on you a little bit.
Yep.
That first set, the last 2-3 reps should be your hardest set.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing to that. I'm not gonna tell you how much to lift.
How much weight?
I'm not gonna tell you how much to lift
What's your theory behind that?
because lie to yourself, but don't lie to me. So when you get up under this bar, I just told you what you need.
Right.
Now, how you gonna interpret that? Because are you gonna push yourself? Because it's hard to push a kid that's not willing to push yourself. I tell you, as a grown up, you go to the bar, they tell you pour your own troubles. So when we get up under this bar, I might tell you your 60% is 155, but you might feel like your percentage is 175. I'm not gonna tell you not to, but I'm gonna watch you do it. And when you break form, I'm gonna say,
I'm
okay,
gonna stop it. All right.
you tried it and that's cool. Now,
Right.
depending on where the form is, I'll then say, okay, based on that, you should more likely
Do the
lift this
165.
instead of that because I don't want to destroy them before they start. Let them give it a shot, and then I'll step. Hey, you move that bar entirely too fast. Come on, man. Let's be serious.
Right.
Or
Right.
you almost shit on yourself trying to
Try to
move
get
that.
that right.
Let's be like accountability, like be real with yourself before you can be real with anybody else because now I can trust you because you know your limits. So it's not always about us telling them their limits, it's encouraging them to push their limits, or sometimes we need to tell, hey, come back this way a little bit. You're starting to get a little bit too.
Isn't that kind of like the concept of like let kids, sometimes you have to let kids kind of try and fail for themselves or try and succeed, either way, but you have to let them kind of go get that experience and see for themselves type of deal.
Because when you think about it, like even as adults, that's still what we want.
Hell yeah.
And
It's
when you
still what
look
we
and
do.
when you look at toddlers, that's what they want. So
Yep.
what makes you think in between that
Something
you
changes.
you don't you it's
Right.
like the only thing that changes how how society teaches us to perceive things,
Yep.
but nothing really changes. Like kids, oh, I train guys. I think the youngest I work with is 10 all the way up to NFL, and
Okay.
the younger guys will ask about the NFL guys.
Right.
What's the biggest? They got to come back and get fundamentals. What you mean? Elite athletes will
Still.
excel, period. But it still comes to a point where you still have to get back to the fundamentals no matter what.
So my question, since the highest, I'll be honest, I work with a lot of high school guys and then some college athletes, but I, when they get to that level, isn't that kind of the difference? Because you're all really talented and really good. So doesn't it really come down to like, other than the very rare talents, right? Like you're talking about, um, the Calvin Johnsons, the TOs, the guys that are just elite talents,
Hmm.
the Kobe Bryants of the world, that sort of thing. But everybody else in between that makes it to that level, isn't that kind of like the big difference is like who can master the basics? Because to me, I guess my mind says they're all freaking really everybody in the NFL, regardless of what some people might think because of records and whatnot. There's a lot of even talent in the NFL because all them dudes are really good at football.
But believe it or not, it's the same thing that we talk about: efficiency, execution, efficiency. That's the biggest difference, because now
But it's
you
literally
got
the same thing at
you,
that
you got
level.
elite athlete versus elite athlete.
Right. So
What
who wins that
what
edge?
it typically comes down to is how tight can you execute what you're supposed to execute. So what's that? Fundamentals.
Right. The basics, the assignment, the stance, the alignment,
Can you for a season in the NFL keep the knee in and keep your hip from opening up? In high school, you get away with that a little bit.
yeah, because you
In
ain't facing D
college,
linemen that can move like
bingo. In
that.
college, so if you got 10 reps in high school, you can get away with 50
Try a
50.
handful, right?
But
Yeah.
in college, that's gonna go up. You need to win 7 or 8. But in the NFL, you need to win 11 of 10.
If you want a
So
job.
so that's
Right.
going to be a combination of fundamentals, sharp fundamentals, and your athletic ability. but it starts with the fundamentals, and then you let your athletic ability take over after that. Like the first, like getting in your stance, getting out of your stance. That's essentially the meat and potatoes of the fundamentals, and then what you do in between that is where some of that athleticism will get mixed
Right.
in with some of the fundamentals that you know and help
So
you
you
win.
take an NFL guy though, and he comes back to train with you. You're still starting day one on the basics with him, and
Day
then
one.
letting him kind of dive because he's obviously an NFL guy.
Because at the end of the day, all the hits that we take, all the weights that we lift, like it changes the body.
Facts
So you have to always make sure that the
in the mind.
base is in where it needs to be before you start to build on top of that. Because if you don't, then now when they start moving, you haven't, a guy might have had an injury during the season that, one
Right.
muscle is overactive, one muscle is underactive, and you got to identify that.
And now his base is off.
Bingo. And so now you got to be able to identify that, make sure that the work that's needed for that is done before you can even start to get back into the other stuff. Because at
Right.
the same time, this is a high performance athlete. So you got to, they're just like a high performance car. Like
That's real.
so
You
no
got
matter
that
what, after
right.
every race, they break down the race car
And they
to every bolt and
right.
make sure
And they build
everything
it
is where
back.
it's supposed to be, and then they put the car back together.
Yep.
You have to do that.
Wow, man. What a message though for the kids listening. Just because so many athletes today don't necessarily see it, right? Like they don't necessarily see that point, but like what a message, man, of fundamentals still wins, basics still win. Because I preach that all the time, and sometimes our young guys don't or gals don't exactly understand that, right? They want to do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
They're asking me why we're doing line hops day one or pogo jumps or why we're not doing this drill that they saw on Instagram where this person jumps and then jumps here to, and I'm like, well, first off, I don't trust all Instagram drills that you see. We may have a frozen up connection here. I think people can still hear coach and see coach, so we can still continue this conversation right now. Let me make sure, just for the listeners, I apologize. Give me one hot second. I've never had that happen. And of course, Josh isn't here right now. Producer Josh is running some errands right now. Let's see here. I may have got it back in. I think I'm back, but now you lost. Apologize, guys, for the technical difficulties. I am working through it right now. I think we're getting Coach back in the chat or back in the room right now. Yeah, great conversation so far.
Now, I want to throw this in there because the last month or two, this is something that I kind of been.
I think you're back in.
I hear echo. So,
Yeah. Keep going, Coach. I'm gonna check and make sure on here.
um, the last month or two, I kind of looked at the aspect of what role the central nervous system plays in all of this.
That's interesting.
Because we hear all the time that kids that come from certain backgrounds, it's a little bit easier for them to uh, basically get into various sports, and some of that may be linked to a already dysregulated central nervous system, so it makes it easier for them to get into certain things. So kids that grow up in certain neighborhoods, it's a little bit easier for them because they're used to the type of environment that certain sports bring already. And so then you have some kids that wasn't raised in those same environments that you may have to, their central nervous system is not as dysregulated. So those are the kids that you will have to kind of get up to speed.
We have a bad echo right now, I'm being told.
Yeah.
I can hear it. Tyler, I appreciate you, brother. I am actually messaging Josh right now to see if we can get this figured out real quick. Hoping he's back around. He's out running some errands right now with Ryan. But yeah, man, damn, we were in a good conversation too.
Sound like the speakers is something is on over there.
I know. I don't know how to shut that off. I'm gonna call Josh real quick. If you guys will just give us 2 minutes. Damn, coach, I apologize.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Let's see if I can go figure this out. I don't really know how to mess with all this, to be honest. Did it drop out again? That's like frozen.
Figure out which speakers it is.
Shoot, now I'm getting hot in here right now. Mute the phone mic. Oh, that ain't it. Oh man, we got all kinds of stuff going on now. Technical difficulties. The day of technology.
I get what they're saying. The microphone on the phone is picking up too.
Yeah. I don't know how to work iPhones, to be honest. This one just clicked off.
That mic is off.
This camera might be. Hey, tell me one thing, Tyler. Can you hear Coach and I? I know you can't see Coach necessarily right now. Josh, I can't hear you, brother, and this phone is all off of.
No, just go back to it. We're good. I fixed it.
I don't know how to get back from this iPhone
No.
though back into
Oh.
StreamYard.
I see what you're saying.
What's that? Oh, I think Coach knows how to use iPhones. What's the password, Josh?
To what? The phone?
Yeah.
Oh, you turned it off. It's
Yeah.
Dang it. Let Ryan text it to you. I don't want to say it while I'm alive.
Yeah, that works.
Text
Tell
it
him
the
shoot it
password.
to me real quick. Coach knows how to fix this. We should be good, and we can get right back on track. Again, apologize, guys. Good conversation, though, man. It's been a good one.
There, I just sent it.
Very interesting. All right, how do we do this again? We slide up.
What happened? I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the lines, there you go.
We
Somewhere
lost.
along the lines, one of those two phones became unmuted.
Both the mics are off now.
Yeah, they're supposed to be.
Okay.
That's what
I'm
the
on
problem
both
was.
cameras now, though. Or is it going to change back when you jump off?
Hang on, let me see if I can switch it.
And I think Tyler, is the echo still there?
No, the echo's not there anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say I see stuff jumping over here, but I don't hear it.
Just have him sit next to you for now.
Okay.
And I'll take this camera off.
I don't know.
This will be
Will that
soloed.
work still?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it will. Yeah. All right,
Just
let's jump
that,
back. Let's jump back. Thank you,
move
Josh.
that camera. Move that other camera.
Oh yeah, I see you. I got you. Oh no, that's our camera. I'm over here grabbing the wrong camera. All right, I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
We'll jump back into it. All right, so finish that last point one more time, Coach, because that one had me interested. And I apologize for making you say that all again, but let's go.
Right.
Let's just go back to that point real quick.
So in the last couple months, like I said, I'm into mental health. So the last couple months, I kind of saw some stuff talking about how if you grow up with a already dysregulated central nervous system, when it comes to things that combat type of deals, if you grow up in that, it makes it a little bit easier for you to blend in and accept that. So in sports, when some kids come from certain households or neighborhoods, we go, oh, that kid tough as shit. that kid tough as shit because he had to be coming from that household. And then you get another kid who, let's say, parents are a little bit more affluent, and
Right.
that kid show up, and you like, man, this kid is might not have it. Well, he didn't go
Right.
through what the other kid. The other kids are going through survival type situations, so that's kind of in their deal.
Is that almost along the lines of like the Dion comment? You know what Dion comment I'm
Yep,
talking
I was
about?
trying not to.
Go directly to
Yeah,
that.
but yeah,
But
uh,
I mean, as much as people might
I,
want to
we
say whatever, it is
it wasn't. You may not like it, but he wasn't lying.
is some truth to it, right? No, it is. It's
Yeah.
there's certain things that we can. I hate to say it, but in America we have to, and this ain't a political podcast, but we have to get back to like being able to have honest conversations, even if it hurts at times. And there's certain things about certain situations, there's certain things about certain people, certain everybody in this world that I think there's things we could all kind of look at situations just like that. And
Hmm.
instead of being in our feelings about it and just being upset, just look at the facts. Are the facts there to support that? I mean, a lot of coaches seem to think so.
And if we don't like it, then all we really do is change it.
Change it, fix it.
That's really it. But it is what it is. When you think about it, when you join the military, I've never been in the military. Shout out to everybody who has took
Absolutely.
that journey. But when you look at their training, what is their training design? Their training, some of it is designed to take away not everything but to make sure that they can program you for what they need you to do. How does
That's
how
facts.
does that happen? We have to strip you of who you were to
And
make you
build it.
who we need you to be. But
Mo-
they still have to that
Mold
one
you.
word build, mold.
Yep.
So even for us, when these kids are coming to us, it's the same thing. But now, like we're at a in a time where we didn't used to have to be therapists. Now we kind of got to get a little bit more into that. So that requires, we might have to, instead of breaking the kid down through force, like you said, how can we break this kid down and build this kid up without adding to the trauma that's already there? Because
Right.
what I'm finding now for me, like, and the reason why, like, I really started looking at this stuff was, okay, now that I'm not playing, why am I still dysregulated so much? Why am I still having the insomnia? Why am I still having some of those things that normally come from actual playing? And some of it is some of the lessons that we learned while they were good lessons, the way that we learned them. All of that stuff is in us too.
Mm.
So, the body don't know the difference between your mother yelling or a coach yelling.
No.
Somebody
Right.
just yelling.
Right. That right there, what you just said. I don't know if people listening, like, that is like the most simple but deep line you could say, man. The body doesn't know the difference.
They don't.
And really, neither does the mind, if I'm being real. Like, you can tell yourself, I know it's out of good, I know it's out of good, but you get yelled at enough times, it's gonna start to sink in that, like, I'm actually not doing right. Something's wrong here. I keep getting yelled at. This can't be right. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? I think there's certain ways, and I'm a big, like, so I listen to a lot of sports podcasts, but I do listen quite a bit to, like, I listen to a lot to Joe Rogan.
Okay.
And Joe Rogan talks a lot about how humans are just wired certain ways. It's just certain things about us that's never going to change. And we're always going to be wired that way. And it doesn't matter what kind of human being you are. If you're a woman, man, black, white, green, blue, it really does not matter. You're going to be wired this way as a human. There's just certain aspects of us that's how we operate.
Hmm.
And I think one of those aspects is that I just think the more it's the more you get yelled at, screamed at, treated like that, I think as humans, it's almost just natural where we're going to get to a point where it hurts and it doesn't actually do anything but to help. Now,
Now,
again, like you said, I do think there's times. I think there's a
hmm
time and place for, like, I'm not going to lie to you, because certain ass chewings, in my career have pushed kids forward.
Mm-hmm.
But and I know you talk. I know we've all had this talk. You also have to know which kids can handle what.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? That's the thing
Bingo.
for me. But that's the building and the relationship part too. If you don't, if you just show up and you don't know the kids, you're not around them. You're only around in August when two-a-day starts and football. These kids, like you are not going to build that relationship, and then you don't know, and then you just hard headed.
And that's one where even with that, like I talk to my kids, text them. I keep an open line, but I don't really bother them a whole lot in the off season. Like I'm still of the go be kids,
I like that though
but
too.
with all the technology, I don't need to do all this stuff
Right.
all day. I can just send
Right.
you a clip,
Yep.
or just send you a motivational thing, send you a schematic thing or
Yep.
whatever, and I bother you when I absolutely need to bother you. I don't bother you if I don't need to bother you.
It's actually easier in this day and age to be there and build
Yeah.
relationships, honestly, because of that. As much as we hate these damn things sometimes, it's honestly it does, man. Because we use WhatsApp, right? So like,
Yeah.
man, I have a defensive WhatsApp. I have a weight building for our weight room WhatsApp.
Okay.
I have a middle school WhatsApp and the high
Sheesh.
school. So same thing, man. I just sent DB clips multiple times this week to the DBs before our 7-on-7 at BG. I just wanted them to see a couple things, just different things, how guys are moving their legs in a back pedal, how they're flipping their hips when they, turn to get into a play or get into their drop, different things, man, that especially when we're 7-on-7, a lot of it's that type of stuff right now. But and then sometimes I just shoot a message in there, man, to be honest, that's just like, hey bro, hope you guys are doing great, miss y'all boys, can't wait for fall, 70 days 70 days and counting, let's get it.
Yeah.
you
And,
know
and then I just let them know, coach may not, be around all the time, but you can't if you reach out to me, you're not gonna be able to say I wasn't there.
that's facts.
But
I like that, man.
I
I love
don't
that.
like again remembering being a teenage kid. I wasn't trying to talk to no adults.
I actually commend you for that, though. I actually respect you for that. I think that's a little bit different perspective than a lot of coaches take, because they're always doing a bunch in summer and this and that. And
Yeah.
even the guy you just coached with, shout out to him. But Kev does everything. He working all. And a lot of us do, including me, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's actually a fresh, kind of unique perspective of let the kids be kids, because I've also been a hard proponent, as a father, as a coach, of that as well. There's a book that just came out called The Anxious Generation.
Okay.
And it's a book about how our kids all have anxiety. And it's basically, the gist of the book is, we took childhood away from our kids, and that's why they're growing up this way. That's why a lot of kids, like, you didn't hear about mental health especially among kids when we were in school. You might have heard, like, somebody in your family was dealing with depression,
Yeah.
or and God bless whoever was, but you didn't hear about, like, there's a lot of kids walking around these days that either really have mental health problems or have mental health problems. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't want anyone to jump on me, but there's also a lot of, I think sometimes we mistake a real mental health problem for, you might just need a routine or a shake up in life, or maybe you need to try a new sport, or
Yeah.
you need a new friend. Honestly, you need to go make a new friend. You need to get outside, get off the phone. But then I think there's actually legit cases, obviously, of kids that have been through things and struggle.
Yeah. Like I've seen both. Not to necessarily take away from anybody's struggle, but I've seen kids where it's just like you just need to understand it's just not for you.
Right, right.
But it's difficult to navigate that when you know you got the mental health thing, and then on top of that you got the participation trophy thing. So
Yep.
that also, like, we could accept, and not saying that all kids can't, but we could accept that we wasn't good enough and we had no problem going home and trying to actually get better. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
hey, he was better than me today. I'm about to go home. When I come back tomorrow,
Yep.
I'm gonna show him who the man. You don't have that as much. Now you do have some kids that still believe in that, but
And those
a,
kids
a,
typically are going to the next level.
a lot of I don't think a lot of kids, and this is just across all sports. I don't think a lot of them play because they genuinely want to. They a lot of them are playing for the attention
It's the social and
that
the
come with it.
attention. Right. No,
Um
I agree with that.
and unfortunately, you know, not saying that they shouldn't participate, but if you're going to participate, understand it's some people that's participating that's really looking at this, to help them. And it
Yep.
may not be to get to them. It's a doctor somewhere that knows that the only way he's going to become this neurosurgeon
Just by
is
getting
is,
that,
is if he get this scholarship
get that
and
scholarship.
whatever it is he doing.
Yep.
And you show up and you just want to, like play around, but which is fine, but don't be the guy that's playing around and you don't take practice serious, but you the main guy that's
Right.
on Friday night, you the locker room lawyer that's complaining because you're not
Facts.
playing, but now you're the most popular kid on the team, but you
Right.
don't really do
But you
nothing.
don't do nothing.
But everybody gonna
Right.
follow you because you're the most popular kid on the
Yeah,
team.
I've seen that.
So
And I hate that about football. I really do, because man, you rely on people in every sport.
yeah,
But to me, you two sports you kind of really rely on people to a different level. And that's really like hockey and football. And the reason to me is there's no more other than when you start getting to extreme sports. There's no other. Those two sports are the ones where like your life is genuinely on the line. Like you get hit in the wrong way, you something happens, and I'm not scaring anyone away from the game of football. It's a beautiful game, and we've obviously done a ton to make the game safer. But it is the reality of like, hey man, hockey is a dangerous sport. And
yeah,
if the guys next to you in the skates aren't moving with you and aren't in sync and aren't doing their job, it could be bad news for you.
yeah,
Or just not even something necessarily bad happened. Does anybody really want to get their ass kicked the whole night because the guy that's supposed to be your left guard and the left tackle are bullshitting? And not to pick on O linemen, but like just an example, right? Like these two guys are bullshitting you and you're the running back, and now you're getting slammed all night because man,
yeah,
because a couple guys are half in. Like that's what I hate a little bit about the kind of half in crowd, and why I say, I think that comes back to the why, though. Tell a kid that's only half in on football, okay, dude, stop looking at the game like a game. Look at it like an opportunity to learn commitment,
hmm
to make new friends, to hell for everything. Because people in the stands gonna like you better on Friday night. Use it for use it because it could get you a college scholarship.
yeah,
And I know you know this. How many dudes have we went and found the hallway and said, you look like a guard and you look like you could maybe get a scholarship. Come on out, man. We'd love to see you. And that's a real thing. Like
yeah.
that's part of our job, is to get kids opportunities, right? And
And I think the other part of it is like legit telling kids.
oh yeah, the honest part of it, ain't that the hardest part too, though? That's a hard part for me, man, but it has to
y-
be,
you
it's
know,
got to be done.
you
It's
know,
a hard part.
eh, yeah,
As
it
I get
is.
older, I think it's getting easier, I'll admit.
So that's what I was just trying to like. How do I say this? Because like you said, like as I'm getting older, it's like the truth is just the truth.
Truth. Right.
Like, and the
Facts
truth,
over
the
feelings.
truth is always going to be hard for the person that don't want to hear it. Like
Yep.
no matter what, is just going to be that. But it still got to be said. Like you come to me and you telling me you want to play at Michigan and you're an offensive lineman and you 5'9" and you 260.
We got to find you
I
something
can't
else.
I ethically
Can't tell
I
you.
can't endorse this. But that's not to
Right.
say that you can't go to school, play at a great institution, and still get a great education and a great experience. You just may not be able to do it at one of the best universities on the planet.
I am a firm believer, coach, that if you work hard enough, there's even very few high school kids that can't make it to an NII opportunity. Even if you're a 5'9" guy or 5'6", even 5'7", not maybe not 5'8", because we don't have a whole lot of 5'6" dudes, but even if you're a smaller guy like that, I know a linebacker that just went to Olivet and was 5'9", 5'10", 200 pounds and he's playing linebacker and he's getting reps. I mean, it's possible if you're willing to close the gap with talent. Now, like you said, where the possibility kind of ends is like that might be your best. That for a lot of people is their only You're not going to get an opportunity at a D2, D1.
And I quite honestly, I think a lot of young athletes need to do better research.
I agree with that.
You know, because some of them are saying I'm not gonna have a chance, but where do you find the players that look like you? Because if you could find somewhere where middle linebackers are 5'9" in that conference, that might be somewhere for you to look.
Right.
Now, again, you may not get the fine dining gourmet and all of that type of stuff, but if your goal is to go to college and play football
and get the education with it, right?
Then
it's
you know where is your tribe now? Like you did this to try to figure it out. So what does that look like for you? If I'm a DB, and I'm of a certain stature, a certain playing style, whatever, where do they look like me?
Right.
Because a couple years ago, a school in the SEC actually had a center on their roster that was 5'11".
In the SEC?
In the SEC.
Damn, how 5'11" what?
I think he was about 295 or something like that. I don't think he necessarily played.
Okay, wow.
But you know, he got the money because there's different opportunities with that as well. Like a lot of kids don't understand that.
Oh man, some of these schools,
you know, the academic part of it. So, you know, you may get a shot because academically you got the grades. You could be a 6'6", 315-pound guy, and they may say, hey, he's a project. He has a 4.3 GPA.
EMU is one. EMU is one that stands out to me, bro. They literally said that. They tell me that all the time when I go up there. They're like, bro, that whole 3.0 team GPA, that's not
serious.
A joke to us, and we're not losing it. So, like, if we can get that 4.0 kid, even if he's a little bit less than maybe this other guy, we're gonna take that 4.0 because we need that.
But see, a lot of kids think that when we're preaching academics, grades, you know, it's just but no, like
coaches on our ass.
Coaches
get
fired when academics are not in line. That's why even the NCAA has guidelines as to what each athlete has to have done prior to competing the next year.
I also tell our kids, like, okay, so you think you can take shit off, right? So you think you can just go to the classroom and be a knucklehead, then come to practice and turn it on and go. No, I always tell, and it might be, I know there's exceptions or whatever, but for the most part, I like telling my kids this: how you act in class is going to be the same way you act at practice. How you do anything is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. So I guarantee you, if you screw around at practice, or you back talk or whatever, or you don't want to do shit, or you're a bad teammate, I guarantee you take that same shit and you do it at home. It's probably sadly taught at home. But I guarantee you probably take, when mom asks you to do the dishes, I guarantee you got something to say. If we ask you to do something, I guarantee you're going to say something. It's just, again, and there's exceptions to everything, right? But for the most part, I'm like, I mean, how I run a business is how I coach, is how I treat my wife, is how I do this, is how I do everything. It's always been like that. Even when I feel like I wasn't exactly doing things to the fullest or working the hardest, I'm like, well, at least I was an 80%er in every aspect, you know. But now I obviously believe I've leveled that up. But again, if I was to give 100%, I got to give 100% in everything, man. Not just like I'm gonna pick and choose. You know, that's why even the show with the middle, I'm over here calling people, but we got to figure it out. We got to get the show back on because, you know, everything, even this, everything we do is important and it all matters to me. And I just, hey man, plus I know this sounds cliche and whatever, but kids, coaches, you only got one, man. You got one of these freaking things. That's it. You get one of these damn lives, bro. And to me, to like, and I know I'm being that like cliche guy, right? You know, one life, but like, bro, that's all you have. So to chill and just kind of screw off, or it just don't make sense to me.
And before I say this next part, like a lot of kids don't really understand. You can't even graduate from college with a D on your transcript. I've been to a school. I have yet to be to a school where you can graduate with a D.
I didn't. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, man. I never.
this is probably the first time
Never
that
thought
that's
of that.
been actually said out loud in a
Yeah.
while. But you can't even graduate with. So you
No,
coming out
that's
of high
real though.
school, you think you want to be cool with D's and stuff in high school, and you think that's the answer. You can't even graduate from college with that.
That's
You can
crazy,
graduate
man.
from high school with D's, but you can't graduate from college with D's.
That to me is like, and so you gonna carry a couple D's from high school into college, not
And
even
you
realizing like,
you ain't gonna
bro,
make
go ahead
it.
and do that at the next level.
So while you a star athlete and you feel like you got the goods on the field, you back in the day, and I don't know if they still do it now. We had the what was it, the gray shirts?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
And
you had to
academic probation.
bingo.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
you have to be able to satisfy a certain academic standard to remain in college.
Which is honestly the standard, especially in high school. But the standard is not difficult, man, especially in high school. When we get kids that are ineligible, I'm like, bro, you know, it's like a 1.8 in the state of Michigan to play football, and you can't keep a 1.8. Man, bro, go do your homework once every while and put your name on some papers, and
And,
you get a
and a lot
1.8.
of the kids don't even just realize, like the teachers that don't want you to be disruptive.
That's it. And
They
just
want
do
you to
your
do your
stuff.
homework and just raise your hand and participate in
That's it.
class in a healthy manner.
And to be honest, most of them, including us coaches, most of us don't give a damn that you don't know what you don't know. We're just going to teach you. That's the point, or we don't
Right.
have a job. I always tell kids when we just went over this Saturday, if you're going to make a mistake, make it at 1,000 miles an hour, meaning full effort.
Mhm.
Just make it full go. And then we can go from there, right?
Yeah.
What we can't coach, and we've always said this before, and we do try to coach it, but it's hard to coach effort. But it's not hard to coach. It is, but it's not hard to coach X's and O's. Let that be the controllable.
Now I'll say this. I'll say this to that. We got to make sure that when we are doing that stuff, like when we talking about effort, we making sure it's the effort within the intensity of whatever it is that we doing. And I say that because I get some kids in training,
I'm curious
and,
about this.
and training is slow. You know, I'm trying to work on helping the kid understand, how his adductors work, keeping his knees in, things like that. And he's trying to do it fast. And I have to tell him, is this new? Yes. So what's happening now is your body is trying to create new neural pathways for this to happen. So your full effort right now is not going 100 miles per hour, but it's 100% focusing attention to performing this one particular movement.
That makes sense. No, I
Now,
like that. Yeah.
now if we sprinting, then obviously my that at 100% effort
Right.
is kick this guy's ass.
And
Like
go.
I don't know who running next to you, kick that guy's ass
Right.
and go.
Right.
But just understanding, okay, in this moment, this is what's important. So give me 100% effort towards what's important in this moment. And one moment it might be, hey, I need you to get this 3 technique off the fucking line of scrimmage.
Right.
And then the next moment is slow down and make sure that this step is right.
When you do this, right?
Bingo.
Nice and slow.
Yeah.
I totally get that because I think from a training standpoint too in the weight room, I go through that too sometimes. Like I'll even have for a simple one, I'll even have athletes try to rush certain things like whether it be different box jumps. They want to get them done. They got a set of 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever or 6 and they want to get them done. So instead of taking the time to go through the proper technique, whatever it be, whether we're doing seated, it's just boom, 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 boom. You're like, and then you get the one that catches and falls, and you're like, so I'm just gonna tell you the reason you caught and fell on the 6th one wasn't because you couldn't make the jump. It's because you got to slow down and do the jump.
So I think when we talk about the effort and all of that, I think we have to keep that in perspective too, because like I was saying earlier,
It's a good point.
we don't just want to take reps. We want to make sure we take
sure
the
they
right
count.
reps. Like at the end of the day, you don't want to be in practice. If practice started at 4, you want to be gone by 6:15. Just like the kids don't be understanding. Like we
I'm big
don't.
on the
I
2-hour
don't.
practices, coach.
I don't enjoy making you run the same play 10 times because I don't believe that it takes that in order to get the job done.
Yes.
This is where the 4 reps come in. We should be able to run inside zone left, inside zone right, inside zone left, inside zone right.
Yep.
And that's all you should have it.
Next
and we
group.
should need to continue to do it. And then the next guy come in.
Next group, next guy.
The more reps I have you do it, I'm gonna start losing you at some point. Because you're gonna, I fucking did this already. How many times coach gonna have me keep doing the same shit over and over?
Yep.
And we say, until you do it
Correctly. Right. Until you do it right.
do it right, do it like.
Yep.
Do it wrong, we just keep doing it.
And then you do get them coaches too who they'll snap. I just watched the movie like a week ago, man. It's the Remember the Titans scene. We're gonna stay out here all night until we run this play right. It's like,
man,
but that's, as a coach, I used to be like that, pretty heavy.
Me too.
And now as I got older, I'm like, I've actually shortened my practice times the last couple of years a little bit, and decided to kind of go more that route. I shortened the middle school. I shortened to people are probably going to think I'm crazy, but I had the middle school down to an hour 20.
I'm curious
because
you got my attention.
my theory was, it was actually two things, if I'm being honest. First things first. As a middle school head coach and a varsity defensive coordinator that lives 30 minutes away, I cannot go home, come back, come home. So everything I did with the middle school had to be formed around the varsity defense.
Gotcha.
That's why I stepped down, so that they could have somebody that could actually get a full at least hour and a half, 2 hours, that sort of thing. But the other reason is I tried having 2-hour practices, and that group, love them to death. The attention spans of middle school kids is just not great. No. And I've tried different things, and I felt like the best success I had was an hour 20 to an hour 30 of just the minute you hit the field. I just want you guys to know it's about to get real serious real quick.
Now, I can understand that, because even in training, so my training sessions are an hour and a half.
Okay.
But with the younger guys, I'm considering breaking that down to an hour. Because after, like you said, after about an hour and 15 minutes, the reps are terrible.
Young people start to get froggy,
and I'll kick you out. I
feel you,
bro. Listen, I'll call your parents. It's not all. I'll call your parents.
Come get them.
Hey, because I tell kids straight up, I'm a dad. There's no way you about to train with me and waste your parents' money.
Oh. Okay, right.
That's just not about to happen. You don't know what your parents got to do to make sure you come in here and train. So you're not going to disrespect their hard work to get you here.
And it's technically not a necessity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like, this is something that they feel is valuable.
It is a necessity, but it's not.
This is something that they feel is valuable to your development, and to have parents who care enough to sacrifice, whatever it is they doing. Because I explained it to them is, if your parents making $20-$25 an hour, how many hours do they have to work to be able to afford whatever it is you're asking for? So at the end of the day, if you want them at home to be able to take you to training or bowling or whatever, you need to do what you're supposed to do with the resources that they're providing for you. So that everybody, they're looking for something specific when they buy you your shoes or the movies, or you come train with me, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, they're getting something. They're looking for you to get something out of this.
Bingo. So don't come in here on no bullshit.
I feel that. No, I definitely feel that.
But
I feel you with the young guys too, man. I'm telling you, it's not hating on young people. It's literally acknowledging the human mind is developing, and it works a certain way. And kids that age, it's just hard, man. And I felt like we got better results from year one I coached them for 2 years.
Okay.
Long story short, we got better results year 2. We actually lit the scoreboard up. We just needed to play some kind of defense. But man,
that's crazy. University defensive coordinator,
coach,
in the middle school.
I've been all off season. I've been like, how in the world did that happen, man? But
it's easy. Like I've never coached high school, but one of the high schools I did coach at, the middle school was right next door, and so I could watch the middle school practice. So it don't take much to lose that group of kids. Like one kid could pass gas, and that's during a stretch, and that's the end of
The whole practice is now off for 20 minutes. Coach, and that's why I was like, bro, I have to tell these dudes they have. And then I stressed the why, right? I'm like, fellas, y'all got games to play. And because we're not practicing as long as some of the opponents you're playing, your practices need to be sharper, crisper, faster.
Right.
And I tried to go that route, but I'm not gonna lie to you, man. That was the most challenging coaching job. And the only, to be real, I took it because I knew some of the kids and I love the kids, and I think we're gonna have like future super bright.
Okay.
But the other reason is like the middle school coach before me stepped away a couple weeks before their season, and I thought it would be a good idea to go get in the hallways, recruit, get the middle school program pumping. And although not the most on-field winning as far as games, I mean, my first day of practice, we went out, we had 9 kids. We finished the season with 15. That was year 1. Year 2 was last year. I had 31. So I've jumped the numbers. This year I'm expecting 30. So
is that with the 7th and 8th grade combined?
Yeah, we only have, so in our school, I think we got about 350 to 400 kids. We're very small.
So is it 1 team or 2?
It's 1, but I'm working on, my goal is 2.
Okay.
Because, year 1 with only 15 kids. I just saw some kind of balloons go flying through, but it's all over the screen. Yeah, long story short, though, I couldn't with 15 obviously do it, but we start pushing 30, 40, if I can get, a couple more kids out of open house to come out and I can keep adding to the numbers, they can probably start considering maybe doing a 7th and an 8th grade team. That's my goal. But that I want to grow. That was why we took it, right? To grow football from the ground up in our little town. And, obviously down the pipeline, that kind of, and then it's crazy, man, because Saturday we go to BGSU, and, one of the guys, or a couple of the guys that played for my middle school teams are now taking varsity reps for just that 7-on-7 for now. Maybe, as summer keeps going, we'll see how they do. One of them's pretty good, man. If I can keep him committed, he'll be all right. He's a beast. But I'm trying to get them guys right from the beginning, man, and just kind of build it. So but I'm telling you, Coach, telling you,
it's a great group to work with, but that group teaches you that you really need to be sharp.
Yeah.
Because I even not this off season, last off season, I had a 6-year-old. I think it was either 6 or 7.
That's young for lineman training.
Yes. But here's the deal. So the kid was great. Whatever I asked him to do, he tried whatever. But in between everything,
that's
Coach. He asked, Coach, can I run and touch the wall? And I just told him, I said, I have no problem with you doing that as long as when it's time for you to come back over here and work, you come back over here and work and you lock in. I don't run it I don't run coaching or anything like a warden anymore. You need some water? Go grab some water, but understand this is gonna be a rolling kind of deal.
Yeah.
So we may not have an official water break.
I don't do water breaks either.
If you need to step away and grab some water, go ahead, step away and grab, because I don't like being in the middle of something and the kids I need water.
It's and I hate the breaking of it. I'll admit in the summer at football, if it's 2-a-days, it's hot, we give water breaks, whatever. But when I'm training sports performance wise, or even sometimes at practice, if it's not super hot out, I'm like, dude, to stop the entire practice and have everyone break, and then you got 5 minutes of everyone trying to get bullshitting and trying to get helmets back. It's like, bro, just go get a freaking drink when you need it.
They really drunk the water the first 30 seconds, and then the next 4 minutes they were talking about Call of Duty or man coming out or some girls or what they got to do after practice, and then you got to bring them back and you got to get them right back focused.
Right? So it's like, what is the point? So, I just went through that with AP today, where I was like, look, I don't do the water break things. Just go get it.
Yeah. So
I will never tell you no either.
Yeah. So if it's not obviously if it's high weather days, like you said, you have to give them water breaks anyway. But now where we are is you think about Bear Bryant back in the day. Nobody need no water. Just toughen up and let's go.
Water
But
makes you
water,
weak.
but water is also essential to performance.
It is.
So, that's we got to remember that's why we pushing it too.
I
So,
think that's part of the theory, coach, of why athletes like we a lot of times when you have this is a good point to kind of wrap some of this up because we're getting pretty good on time here. But
okay.
I think that's part we have this conversation all the time about like old school athletes versus new school, and they were tougher, but they were more athletic. And I think there is some truth to both. I think if you played back in the old era, it was roughneck and rugged. I think if you play in this era, the old school guys couldn't keep up with these guys. They're more athletic. I think that right there is a big part of it because a lot of us coaches now are telling kids, go eat good, go get a water break, go get some sleep, go get you a damn, piece of grilled chicken and some carbs, some healthy
Yeah.
carbs instead of McDonald's. Go do this. Like I think we do a better job genuinely of actually stressing the importance of that. And I think that's part of why kids I think are more athletic. Now, maybe not the whole reason, but it's part of it.
And that's why, like, I didn't really get into why I started Hoggs Going Wild, but that was one of the reasons why. One was because I recognized there was a need. Offensive line coaches are hard to find because typically,
Good ones
when
are
offensive
really hard to
linemen are
find.
done, offensive linemen are like, I've been lifting heavy shit this whole time. Y'all can y'all can have it.
Hell
So,
yeah.
but you will get some that'll come out. So I felt like, what I experienced could help kids. And honestly, where it came from was I got I when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to coach. Okay. Playing in the NFL was like, okay, cool. If I get there, that's fine. But I knew I wanted to coach.
That's interesting.
Because I was always kind of aware of my surroundings. So, like I said, like talking about the dysregulated central nervous system, and I came from an area that was pretty tough to grow up in,
Yeah,
and
when you said what school you were from, I was like, okay, coach, listen, man.
so
I know a little bit about Metro Detroit and Detroit. I've grew up everywhere from Trenton to Detroit to coached at Romulus and Wayne to.
so me and my friends, we weren't bad kids, but I knew that if we had more, we could probably do more. And we didn't have
Mm,
access to guys back then either. Like, yeah, we had Lomas Brown and
yeah.
Gilbert Brown. They would
Yep.
all come
Yep.
back and do camps, but we didn't really have access to them. So,
It's also quadruple those opportunities now. Whereas you might have had that. Now, how many dudes do you have from U of M, Michigan State
so,
running camps?
so,
Us.
so now getting back into it. So I decided that I wanted to go to the NFL, but I wanted to go to the NFL so I could get scholarships. I
Mm,
didn't think about coaching. I was like, I'm gonna play, get some money. I'm going to chill with my family. But in 2014, I sustained an injury. I fractured my talus bone in my right ankle,
mm.
um, and that changed the trajectory of my life. So I was still playing football. I was still active at the time. So a gentleman by the name of Charles Bentley opened his facility,
Okay.
and so I went to learn how to put myself back on the field because with a talus bone
With that,
fracture,
right.
that's a career-ending injury. Um, so the talus bone, basically, I'm not a doctor or any of that, but it basically kind of works as a shock. So when you step down, the heel and the toes and all that, it helps adjust all of that so you can walk or
So
whatever.
whereas you can walk and do what you need to on a daily basis, playing sports at an
It,
elite
it, it's,
level
it's
is
over.
it's over.
And so I went there to learn how to get myself back on the field. And what I learned was, oh, it's over for me, but I love the sport, I love the position, and this is coming. So
I
I
love
need
that.
I need to take this back and start preparing the kids where I'm from so that when this wave hits, because
They're
you're seeing it now, but I was in 2016 is when I decided like, hey, we gotta start doing this And that was kind of the beginning of this evolution of offensive line play that guys are kind of seeing now with the medicine balls and the bands and all
Yeah.
those types of things.
Coach, I've stole a few things off Hogs Gone Wild. I'm like, wait a
And,
minute, I
and,
get that.
and that,
Okay.
that's what it's there for. I prefer like ask,
Oh, listen,
why,
man, you and me can have, yeah, we can.
but
There's been some kind of, so to speak, some really kind of good footwork med ball stuff that I've
yeah.
seen, and whether it was your page or just a couple, but I don't do the whole. I really try not to do the whole like Instagram drill stealing, or because a lot of that again has to fit into what you're doing. And I know I sound hypocritical because I post OTA stuff all the time, but I also know when I post something from OTA athletes and people have to understand that whatever I post, that's part of their program.
So here's what a lot of people don't understand about what I do. It's not specific to anything.
What
It's
elaborate? What do you mean?
so it's movement correction.
Okay.
So it's not this is how you know you know my mechanics that I'm teaching my kids at wherever I coach at is going to be specific to what we
To
do.
what
But human
your
movement,
scheme
a
is.
squat at over there is a squat over there is a squat
Squat
is
over
a
there.
squat is a squat.
Right.
So there are certain things that you have to absolutely do.
And that's same with line
Like
play.
basically, so it's like okay, force comes from the opposite direction. So if I'm going to the right, I need to
You need to be
drive
able
off
to
the
push
left.
with the right drive with the
So
left.
my training is making sure that they're not false stepping
Right.
there, but
And then you do that with different things with the med balls
and so what
bands and
so what I'm doing at that point is that means that I have assessed something, file and movement, and this is the tool to correct it.
that makes sense.
So it's a pass set is a pass set. We it's three. You got your jump set, your 45, and your vertical set. So it's not just this is how we set. It's okay in high school.
This is what
You
this
probably
is what
gonna
you
you
see.
probably just gonna use a jump set. That's probably what you're gonna use. But if you
Right.
put these in your toolbox, when you get to the next level, this stuff will be there. Or if you can find a way to use this stuff now, but it's not like anything outlandish, like personal to what Coach Barbie believes. It's when you go in the gym
That
and,
makes sense to
and you
me.
working lateral hops, you
Yep.
making it's just making sure that if he's supposed to reach block, he's actually driving off that left foot.
That
He
makes a
knows how
lot
to
of sense
actually
to me.
open up the hip. He
Okay.
knows how to put that foot in the ground, knows how to direct the force, things
Wow.
like that. And then
So
from
us high
there,
school coaches love you, bro.
should.
For real.
But I get some hesitation because I do hear a lot.
That's
My
because
coaches,
you're not the offensive line coach at the
bingo.
school.
My coach don't. I've heard my coach don't want me to come to you because what you're
Yep.
teaching is,
Yep.
and is I'm not teaching anything that disrupts any scheme.
That's what I would say is I would encourage those coaches to just do some research or maybe come, even if you wanted to peek in on a session and see what's going on, if coach is good with that. Like,
It's and my doors like since I've been training, I've always told guys like if just call me. Like
that's awesome.
I'm not hidden. I'm not
Right.
just call me. Like any of this drills you see, if you hey coach, why you doing this?
We'll sit down and talk ball. And I want to actually talk about having you come to the coaching clinic. I think you'd
Okay.
be a great speaker there. Coach, before we kind of get some last thoughts here and things, where can they find you? Where can somebody find Hogs Gone Wild? Where can we find you if somebody wants to sign up? Or
Right.
how does somebody go about that?
So I have I'm on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So you can follow me on any of that. There's a link in my bio that
Okay.
pulls up my training calendar. All you got to do
Perfect.
is click on that.
That's
It'll show you
perfect.
days, times, all of that, everything you need to know. The one thing I want to say, because a lot of people, right before you check out, it gives you the address. So a lot of people just kind of
Okay.
click through it and then they text, "What's the address?" It's a map that pops up. You just got to give it a minute. It generates, but I'm not hard to find at all.
Okay.
I'm Hoggs
Perfect.
Gone Wild. HOGGSGONEWILD on every platform.
Please make sure you guys check it out. He is, and I sincerely say this, he's one of the best, if not the best in the business at doing this, especially in our area. And that area of our game it's hard to coach, man, and there's not a lot of great coaches in that realm, if I'm just being honest, in that position group. That's a tough position group to coach. A lot of times, you know, and I'm blessed to have a pretty good coach where we're at right now. And Coach Wiley, shout out to you, Coach Wiley, but it is a tough position to coach. And if you can go even movement correct and get some basics down, it'll help you tremendously when you come into your season.
So I just eliminate false steps and bad
I
bad
love that.
footwork. That's it. And
So
I know we run out of time.
you're good. You're good.
I can.
No, you're good. You're good.
So that's it. We do some weight training in there.
Okay.
I do know some of that stuff. So anything that I teach, I also teach the kids. So some of the lifts y'all do and the kids don't take them serious. I say, hey, a lunge is, this is run blocking. Or when you
translate it for them.
This is the bottom of your this is your that. So they'll come in, and if a kid doesn't understand what I'm saying, I can easily take him to the weight side of things, and this lift is this movement, and they okay.
Game translation. That's big time. No, I love that, man. A man of his craft. I appreciate you, Coach.
No problem.
Couple more things before we jump out of here. This was a great conversation. I'm kind of like, I know you drove 45, Coach, but if you come for the clinic, we might have to bring you back on for a show. We can do one up there or something. Our athletes of the week, Monroe County athletes of the week, Unity Nelson. She actually won it last week, but the reason is she's gonna back-to-back this thing because she tossed shutouts in the quarterfinal, semifinal, and semifinal for Whiteford softball, and she gave up one hit in the final. So one hit in all 3 rounds. Incredible softball player. She's been killing it all year around here. And then our honorable mention, Rayanne Drummond from Airport. She had 10 strikeouts and a double hit in the quarterfinal versus Milan. So, again, both of them have been on this list before. Our athletes are just wrapping up their softball seasons, and summer's here, and now we get ready for fall. So the next time you start hearing some student athletes of the week, you may just be hearing some football, some volleyball, and some cross country and that sort of thing. So excited as we get into summer here. On this day in sports, in 1911, the Detroit Tigers trailed the White Sox 13-3 and came back to win 16-15. That's the largest comeback in Major League Baseball history. In 1960, Arnold Palmer mounts the greatest comeback in U.S. Open history to beat Jack Nicklaus. I don't watch golf, I'll be honest, so I don't know 100% if that still holds as the record or the biggest comeback. But I love Arnold Palmer tees, and I know who the golfer is. So, and the last one, 1973, the NCAA makes urine testing mandatory for all athletes.
That I didn't know.
And that one changes the game for certain things. So, Coach, I appreciate you, man, for coming on.
I appreciate you for having me.
We'll definitely have you back out, man. We'll do another show. And again, guys, I'm going to do my best to convince Coach. If you enjoyed this show, I'm going to do my best to convince him to come on back to the coaching clinic and come talk some ball. Appreciate you guys. Any final thoughts, Coach?
Right now, I am doing team training, so I am available for that. So it's not just individual work. So teams can actually reach out if they would like for me to come in for a day, and kind of take a look at their guys and give them a little bit of feedback. I appreciate the opportunities that I receive. I don't take any of it for granted. Any kid or any athlete, I should say, that decides to walk through my door, I don't care how many stars you have or don't have. Everybody's the same, because at the end of the day, guys have made it from all walks, and
that's real.
With what I do, the biggest thing was to create a community where offensive linemen can feel safe instead of having to. People don't think they do
be the old lineman outsiders.
Kind of hide because they the offensive line. Don't nobody really care until somebody get tackled in the backfield or sacked. So the guys come in, and you never know who you're gonna work with.
I love that.
The older guys, you may show up, and my older guys are gonna give back to my younger guys. So you might come in for training, and the guys that's in college and the NFL know, if you working with a young dude that day, if I say something, you got give back. Like
I love that.
That's the you can't come work with me if you're not willing to give back.
You want to be in those environments, athletes.
Yeah.
That's the environment you want to be in. I love that, man. So again, go check out Hogs Gone Wild, HOGGS Gone Wild. Coach is showing you the shirt. Go ahead, check it out. Even I am encouraging teams in our area to even look into it. Look into Coach, look into his results, look into what he does. Check out Hogs Gone Wild and see what you think. Guys, I appreciate y'all. We are on next Tuesday. We're back. We will be with Coach Johnson. And I believe actually I'm gonna have to hold on the guest. We'll see you next week. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you if you were listening. Thank you guys for kind of dealing with the technical difficulties in the middle and staying with us. We appreciate you all. And Coach, thank you. I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.